This meeting is being recorded.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. All right. So welcome to the 5th episode of the Tilt Report with James and Jeremy. I am, of course, James. He is, of course, Jeremy. I am wearing my FlyQuest jersey that actually has my gamer tag on the back of it because I'm a giant fucking nerd. But we have LCS today. We have some League of Legends stuff going on today. In terms of contests for in the lobby, I mean, 4-game NBA slate today, 10-game NHL slate. So if you're an NHL guy, and that's pretty cool. But that being said, the contests still mostly suck. And then we have LCS for League of Legends starting at 4 p.m. And I think we're starting to see satellites and qualifiers in the lobby here pretty soon for the World Championship for League this year. So some things worth looking
That's
out.
a pretty big one, right? Like the League Championship, isn't it like, what is it, 100K, 500K to first?
Yeah, it was, I think it was 100K, maybe it was 150K last year. I'm sure that it'll be a little bit bigger this year as well. They've continually kind of built it up, and I've had a winner at Paydirt of the World Championship 2 out of the last 3 years. So hoping 3 out of 4. Because my projections just kick a lot of ass. So pretty excited for that. I will be running qualifiers for it as well because, why not? But I'm sure that it'll be Gordy and Moose and Emmerich who end up getting at least 2 tickets each because those guys are all really, really good.
Esports Sharks. Is the big one Counter-Strike? Is that the big esport? Like, isn't there, I feel like there's one final that's like pretty good up front.
Yeah, the League of Legends one is the biggest one for DFS.
Okay.
But Counter-Strike is more consistent, I think. I wish that they would put a little bit more effort into Counter-Strike, and I wish that there was a little bit more emphasis on it, just because I think that from a DFS perspective, it's a really pure DFS sport. It's as close to zero sum as we have. So
Gotcha.
The way that the game is played is really interesting, and there's a lot of strategy that goes into it, and it's daily. And I just think that it's a good sport, man. I wish that the live scoring was a little bit better, but I think that it's a good sport. Maybe we'll get a championship. Maybe we'll get a world championship for DFS in the coming years, but we don't have one yet, which is a
Gotcha. Problem. Yeah, the live scoring is tough for esports. I played some Call of Duty DFS like a little bit last year. If you remember, I was in the Paydirt Discord asking, what the fuck do I do? Which it was fun because, I play Call of Duty myself, obviously not competitively or anything like that, just for fun. But yeah, the live scoring was just like updates after every round or whatever, and sometimes it takes like forever. So that was a little bit frustrating for sure.
It's such a blast to watch, though. Like if you play the games, or if you even just like want to get into it, go watch some Counter-Strike or go watch some Call of Duty, go watch some high level stuff. And I swear to God, it's one of the best things to watch while you're sweating out the DFS. Like the live scoring sucks, but you can still see what happens in the round and get stoked on it. It's a lot of fun. And I hope that in the next 5 years, it's at least as popular as NHL, but like I might be getting my hopes up on that with sports betting becoming more prevalent and DFS kind of dying or whatever, as if it's been dying for the last fucking 5 years anyway. Yeah,
DFS is dying. In 3 years, there'll be no edge. No one's gonna be playing it. We're all gonna be buying Rainmakers packs and JPEGs of monkeys throwing up or something.
I fucking hope not. So anyway, how's your PGA stuff looking? What stands you take this week?
Yeah, I took a very heavy stance on Matt Fitzpatrick. I have 41% Fitzpatrick. I think everyone's like pretty afraid of his neck injury. The dude's a grinder, and he was 8% owned, 8,800. Thought that was the best play on the slate. But I've got a lot of Fitzpatrick, Chef, Cam Young, Hovland. I basically X'd out Jason Day. I X'd out Rom, which I know you're gonna probably get on me for. But yeah, I mean, it looks like it looks like the PM AM wave got some steam. We got like Keegan Bradley at like 18%. So I'm not a big weather guy, and they've been having trouble finishing rounds. So I I basically faded the PM AM stuff. So I did play a lot of Rory, which he obviously got steam too. But I'm feeling pretty good, especially about this early wave. You know, all my guys are coming out strong.
Yeah, Rory twice the ownership of Rom is just wrong.
Yeah,
Like
I agree.
people just keep wanting Rom to be a bad play, and people just keep looking at him like, oh well, Rory's cheaper, or why would you play Rom when he, is,
Yeah,
et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like he keeps coming in at like 15% owned, and he keeps just crushing like he lays his balls on everyone else's shoulders. He just like slaps them down, and people just don't want to play this guy. And it blows my mind. I understand why Rory got steamed up. I get it.
Yeah.
Course history, and he is cheaper and still projects just as well as Rom at other places. I had Rom far and away the best projected player on the slate, but like, I don't know. That's wild. Why did Tyrell Hatton get boosted up? What is that?
Well, one, he's been playing well, and then two, like he's known to be really good here at this course. Like it's another course history play. I mean, he's won this event before, and I mean, if you know anything about Tyrrell Hatton, he's like the world's biggest like curmudgeon. He hates every single course out there. He like every time he hits the ball and it doesn't go his way, he's like throwing his club or like grumbling under his breath or things like that. But I think he's on record of saying like, I love Bay Hill, which is the course that they're playing at this week. And if Tyrrell Hatton loves the course, you might want to play him. That means he really, really fucking loves it. So that's why he got steamed. He's also in the PM AM wave also. So I think that played a little bit into it. So he was just like an easy click down in the low 8s. So I have a little bit of him. I'm definitely underweight. But yeah, did Rom come in? What did Rom come in your contest in the single entry stuff?
In the 200, he's 14% owned.
Oh my God.
I know. What are we doing here?
Okay. Yeah, because in the lotto, in the pitch and putt, he's 21%. I think Rory's 27%, which I'm okay with that. Like, that's more or less the same. But yeah, I had a feeling that Rory would get steamed up a little bit in that single entry stuff.
Rory 31% owned in the 200, Rom 14% owned.
Yeah.
I will take that every single day.
Yeah.
So
no complaints there. That's a good GPP play.
Yeah, just like looking through everything, I understand the course history stuff. This should be a really fun one. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on the PGA changes that they're making. I don't really understand them because I don't actually watch golf or pay attention. But is it like that? I saw that they're removing cuts from certain tournaments, or is it all tournaments?
It's only from certain tournaments. So basically, I'll start a little bit from the beginning. So this is all in response to Live. So basically, in 2023, this year, they have designated events, quote unquote, that have huge purses. So for example, this week at Arnold Palmer, it's $20 million is the purse, which in the past it's been like 10 or 12 million. Sure. So they've doubled the purses on a lot of these events. So for example, Waste Management was 20 million. Genesis was 20 million a couple weeks ago. Basically, let's give the players more money because we need to compete with Saudi Arabia giving $500 million to Dustin Johnson. So they have, I believe it's 8 designated events this year that are basically $20 million purses, which when you think about the majors, like Masters is like 20 million, Players Championship is 25 million. So, they're basically like mini majors essentially.
Okay.
So that was what they did in response to Live this year to get, all the players incentivized to play these big events and all the best players at least, because essentially that's what Live is, right? They took the best players 48 players, put them in a no-cut event, gave them a shit ton of money, and then you get to watch them 14 times a year, and they all have to play those events, right? So basically, that's the PGA's response.
Okay.
In 2024, so they had to respond to LIV very quickly. So they did not change the field size of any of these designated events this year. What they're doing for next year to guarantee the top players more money is taking away the cut in these designated events and reducing the player pool down to like 70 or 75 golfers. So essentially, for those that don't know, if you get cut in golf, you don't make any money. You make jack shit. Zero. Essentially by taking away the cut for these events, you're guaranteeing those 70 players are going to get some sort of money, even if they like eject and shoot plus 10, like fucking
goddamn
who's Minwoo Lee right now is like plus 6 or something. So that's essentially what they're doing. They're getting a lot of flack for it because that's kind of like copying LIV, basically. So I think there's more details to come. I think they interviewed Rory actually about yesterday at the Pro-Am, and he was like, I think he said something about like it not being finalized that all the events would get rid of the cut. It was only like some of them, which I would be okay with, 4 of them, maybe 4 out of the 8, getting rid of the cut, whatever. Like, I get it. You want to guarantee some of the players some money. I don't really care. I realize that they play this game for money. But I think overall, if they go all 8 events no cut, it's just kind of like a very uncreative way of responding to LIV and basically just doing the same thing as them with just a better set of players. So I don't love the changes. I don't DFS either. I like cut events better. I like sweating a little bit on Friday versus just like waiting until Sunday, or like like watching the last 10 minutes of an NBA game or something like that. Like so I don't love it, but we'll see. I understand why they did it, but I don't love the changes.
How sick would it be in NBA if at halftime they cut every player with a negative net rating?
That would be that would be
any
hilarious.
Player that has a negative net rating for a team is just not allowed to play the rest of the game. They have to run with just like 6 guys the rest of the time.
That would be hilarious. I mean, I feel like Jason Tatum would get cut every fucking time. Like, he is the most frustrating. I mean, he went off yesterday, but he is the most frustrating star to play because I feel like he just starts and he's so bad in the first quarter. And then like in the third quarter, he'll just put down like 20 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists in the same quarter. And you're like, okay, well, I got there.
Him and SGA are the same player, by the way.
Oh yeah. SGA too. Oh my God.
They're the same
and
player.
Then on the flip side, Kristaps Porzingis is first quarter god. Like I'm pretty sure he's had 20 DFS points in the first quarter multiple times this year. So he would be making a lot of the cuts.
Yeah, for sure. As far as like the DFS part of this PGA stuff goes, I personally like cut events a lot more. I think that no cut events, as much as it's really, really hard to quantify how somebody is going to react to starting out really, really badly. If somebody shoots 7 over the first day, they probably just suck the rest of the tournament. You're so on tilt at that point that I think making good decisions is really, really hard, especially in golf where so much of it is mental. And there's so much of like, if you try to do too much, you're just going to fucking bunker over. So
right.
I don't know. I think there's probably better ways to incentivize golfers to go into tournaments. Like 2 things, right? One, performance incentives are significantly better than showing up incentives, right? Like making it so that if a golfer has like 5 birdies in a row, they get an extra like $100,000 or something added onto their cut or something. Like that's a better way than just saying, yeah, just fucking show up and we'll pay you. And 2, embrace gambling, and it solves like every problem that you had. These fucking old heads that just refuse to embrace gambling and DFS and refuse to embrace that the vast majority of people who are watching sports at this point want some action on the game. Like that, there are
Oh yeah.
I guess I shouldn't say the vast majority, but they're like nobody's watching the fucking Jets versus Browns on Thursday Night Football unless
I am.
one, they are a heavy Jets or Browns fan. I have a friend named Sam who loves the Browns and she just hates herself. Or two, you got money on the game, right? Same thing,
Yep.
I think, with PGA. Like, I think that there are a lot of people now who are playing Showdown or waiting for their cuts. I'd be willing to bet that there's more viewership on Friday and Sunday than there is on Thursday and Saturday. And I think that a lot of that
Absolutely.
just comes from sweating out
From
whether a golfer is going to make a cut or not. So,
DFS or gambling. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I think I totally agree. Two things on that. One, you have a friend who's a heavy Jets fan. That's me. It's terrible. Yeah. So I also hate myself. So here we are. But two, yeah, no, I totally agree. It's, the I think, I'm not sure if you follow him, but Jason Ruslan, who's a golf DFS guy, he had a pretty good idea, I thought, where, instead of taking cuts away from these events, you would incentivize player and give them a payout for their ranking, instead of,
Yeah.
taking a cut away and doing that. So like, yeah, you still give out money, but it's performance based. And, I added on to that and I was like, why not pay them out 3 times a year, let's say, based on your ranking at that time? Come up with a PGA DP World Tour ranking instead of like the OWGR, which I think is stupid, but we can, even if you use that, like 3 times a year, pay them out for what they're ranked at. So yeah, it incentivizes them to play tournaments. It incentivizes them to play tournaments that other good golfers are in to get more points. And then, you still get to pay them if they actually play well. Like, it's not like if they miss the cut in one tournament, then they're not going to get paid. They can still perform well at other tournaments and get paid, something like that. And like, you can make those incentives pretty significant for them where they feel like they're still like have a great shot about getting paid every single time. So yeah, it's I'm sorry, I'm watching Fitzpatrick is like tilting because he just hit the ball like 15 yards out of this rough. That's like, it's like unmowed rough. That's like 12 inches long. It's like ridiculous. But he's like swiping at the grass, so it's really distracting me. But yeah, no, I think that there's a lot of way better ideas than just doing the same shit that Liv is doing. But yeah, the old heads, they don't know what the fuck is happening. They're just so uncreative. The lack of creativity really just amazes me on the PGA Tour. But it is what it is.
Yeah, the last thing that I'll say before we move on to the tout talk is I just I don't understand how they want to copy Liv when Liv is just getting fucking annihilated.
It makes no sense. Like, I would love to be in the room and just try and listen to like what these idiots are talking about. Like, no one else had any ideas to make this better. Like, you could literally just like crowdfund some of these ideas. And I think it would be so much better. Just ask people in the community. But who knows? They might not know how to use the internet. So it is what it is.
Morons. Let's talk about somebody who's
Morons.
not a moron. Brandon Adams ends up
Yeah.
down the Millie Maker last night for NBA. It was a $2,500 entry contest. I know that you were in it. I know that a couple guys in Paydirt community were in it, but Brandon Adams, man, he's somebody who I think is underrated. I've always appreciated and tried to emulate things that he does as a DFS player, and I think that he's somebody who plays in a way that probably, one, certainly not flashy, but two, it's not really, I don't know why people don't appreciate the way that he plays as much as some of the other guys. I guess it's because he's not at the top of the leaderboards as often, but he's a very profitable player. And the way that he plays GPPs, I think that the way that he looks at contest selection and the way that he splits up his portfolio is just brilliant. He's such a good player.
Yeah. And he's a poker guy, right?
Yeah, he's a poker guy. So
Yeah.
he goes about it in a very like methodical and leverage based way. He really looks at how to beat the field rather than how to beat himself. So I just love the way he plays.
Yeah, and I do want to say, so he won the Millie yesterday. He also got fifth with another entry, so he took down 1.06 million just in that contest. He also won the flagship GPP on DK for 100K, the $15 entry, and I'm pretty sure he entered the same lineups in like some of the smaller stuff, like 4 entry max, 20 entry max stuff. So I'm pretty sure he took down like 1.2, 1.3 maybe yesterday.
Yeah.
With the same lineup. It had, to your point about the way he plays, it had Devin Booker, who was at 1.8%. Everyone was afraid that KD would take a lot of its usage. Booker went for like 55 DFS. It had Zach LaVine at like 4% in a good matchup against the Pistons. He went for like 48 DFS at like 8.5K. So like, and then he just, he played good, well projected plays around that, and that's all you really need. And he scored like 355. But yeah, I mean, kudos to him. He's been like kind of off the radar, I feel, because he doesn't really post too many screenshots or anything. I feel like his Twitter is like very, poker player heavy almost. Like he's just like kind of like a regular dude, which I appreciate. Coming from someone that I post a lot of my screenshots, so it's refreshing to see someone that just like, I'm gonna beat you, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, he's got an entire other thing going on, and he plays DFS because he knows that he's good at it and because he knows he has an edge, but he really doesn't post like very much DFS centric stuff. He mostly,
right.
I think he tried for a little while posting some DFS centric stuff a couple of years ago, and then he started his podcast, and at that point it just became very poker centric and very game centric, not even necessarily poker centric, but very much like gamified, interest centric. He's just somebody that I think is really, really good. Anytime that somebody asks me who I like go to study whenever I actually want to give a shit about DFS for 3 months, he's somebody who I go back and I look at the way that he's attacking certain things, and I think that he does best in sports like MLB and NHL and NFL. Yeah. I think that NBA is probably one of his weaker sports for sure, which makes sense. When you're playing 2% owned guys, that's hard in NBA DFS to find success. Yeah. So, but kudos to him. I'm happy to see somebody other than one of the main guys take that down. That always gives me a little, fuzzy.
Yeah. Feeling. I think Kobe for MVP. I don't know who that is, but I see him in all the contests. He got second, and then for a good amount of time, someone with an RPS logo was up top. So, it was nothing against RPS, but it was good to see someone take it down. But yeah, no, I personally had a pretty good run out yesterday. I had 5 tickets to it. I don't join the Millie unless I have tickets to it. The prize structure is just the worst. Dink was making a joke on the show yesterday. He was like, you either win a Millie or you get like a set of steak knives. Yeah. is the prize structure. So I usually don't play those unless I have tickets. I had 5 tickets. I cashed 3. I got 11th. It was my highest lineup, which was not bad. A little bit of a bummer to not get 9th, which would have gotten me an extra 5K, but I think can't complain about some pretty good lineups. But I posted the screenshot, which, of course, the tickets, they'll say like your entry fee is, I don't know, 12,500. Yeah. And I won like 19K or something like that. Well, Jesse was in the screenshots. He replied to my tweet. He's like, the touts these days are posting not even 2x. They're out of control, which, I obviously haven't met Jesse in person. I don't think I ever will, unless I go to his mom's basement, where he lives. But love the guy. But I got a kick out of that, seeing that notification this morning.
So I talked about some of the contests earlier on in the day. It kind of looks like if you're not playing golf or LCS, today looks like a pretty good day to just like sit back a little bit. There's not a whole lot going on. The hockey contest, if the hockey contests were better, like if they had a 444 or if that 333 was not just $81,000 in total prizes, like fuck whoever is making these NHL contests, man. The day after you run an MLB Millie, you're not going to put out a fucking line for the people who made some money. Like, come on, Brandon Adams would max to 444. Like, that's half the contest. Let's just do it. But today looks like a pretty good day to take off outside of those things. So, with that being said, Jeremy, some closing thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. I always try to prepare for these, and then I'm like, I never think about closing thoughts before, and then
It doesn't
I'm
have to
stuck
be
here.
DFS oriented. You can just give some life thoughts too.
Yeah. So what I will say is, some people know this, some people don't, but my wife is 6.5 months pregnant. She has some health things going on. But yeah, I would say keep things in perspective. We had some friends over this past weekend. It was nice to get away. But yeah, like, think about what's important is all I'll say. And those will be my closing thoughts. Short and sweet.
It's a good closing thought. Here's my closing thought. I think that making bacon in the oven is better than frying it. That's my closing thought. Here's what you do. All right. Here's what you do. Take a pack of bacon. Okay. And then you take 3 strips, preheat the oven to 350, take 3 strips of bacon, cut it into fourths. All right. So now you got 12 little pieces of bacon. All right. Because you're not going to eat a whole piece of bacon in one bite anyway, but you can do it with the
yeah.
Okay, so you arrange them out on a baking sheet with some tin foil. Tin foil is important because you don't want to fucking clean all this grease off of a baking sheet.
Oh, yeah, that sucks.
So put them down, lay out your 12 little baby bacons, throw them in the oven for 17 minutes. Okay.
17
minutes, 350 little bacon babies. It gets them to like the perfect point of like having some crispiness, and they're cooked all the way through, and they're rendering in the fat. And they don't curl up and get all fucking annoying. Like, they're still flattened out. My mouth is watering thinking about this because
I might need to.
This is just
and you can just
it's like a perfect TFS line. You just set it and forget it for 17 minutes, and then you just
there you go.
So there you go. Those are my closing thoughts. Thank you guys for tuning in. This has been the 5th episode of the Tilt Report with James and Jeremy. If you guys like what you hear, then be sure to follow us on Twitter and also go download on Podbean and check out the YouTube. Appreciate you guys, and we will see you on Saturday.